Previous hands were when you had the initiative position-wise. Now we're talking about when you're out of position. When a rival's playing too loose, if you want to win, you gotta stay aggressive with your bets. In those cases, you need to keep checking them. Keep checking and let's give them chances. Your opponent might just be bluffing like 1% of the time, though. This makes winning real tough for you when they're betting, and you often have to stick with a nice hand that you could have kept checking and calling with. Hey, let's give these guys a couple of general tips for when we're out of position, but holding a strong hand. Of course, now you gotta know when to bet. When you ain't got no issue calling or raising against someone's small bet. When should you bet out of position? When you can call or raise against their bet without sweating too much. So, if we make a mistake on the plane and someone crashes, you can crash again or work or land without any problem. Again, this is for when you are out of position. Be careful. The first example is that you are UTG with ace-ace 5-4 and the flop comes 8 to 7 fives. What is your move at this moment? Now stop the video. On inflation here is a very interesting scenario. Because against hunter players, you have to be able to win the pot and finish the job, and if it works, it is possible that your hand will be better. In fact, in front of a player who bluffs and runs a lot. It's a good flop that can check or give you a chance. Because there are times when some flops some players will attack you, and it's hard for you to do anything. Against a player with that hand, you gotta check and then go all in. Against those predatory players, we need to make multiple moves. So in this situation, I'm gonna check and bluff. It's my call if your opponent is one of those guys who likes to come on strong, but then backs off. Then maybe you could check or semi-bluff. But with this hand that has no chance of improving on the turn, you gotta bluff, cause playing it straight is gonna be really tough. Second example, you have a king and queen 10-9, and the flop shows 8-7-5. What is your move? With that hand, you're hella likely to make a straight or flush on the turn, and you're opening. But we also got chances of getting it all bricked up. However, you are most likely. You are on the turn, draw and flash draw, and you are also open-ended. You also have the possibility of being filled. I highly recommend checking here, and then call. In fact, you have half of the cards, if the train comes well. With heart and diamonds and of course, jack and 6. They also give you the straight. And you can call a check if turn king or queen comes. But this is the place where if the opponent plays aggressively, I recommend check and call. What good hands do you expect with a flop like that? In this example, you pre-flop raise with Jack-Jack, and a 10-10 dealer calls and flops 9-8-5. You bet again. And for that one player exploiting this type of flop who ain't wanting to slow down, they bet too, and if they raise, you can just align. Cause your hand's got some serious potential to improve, and you might even backdoor something valuable. You know, you're knocking on a closed door cause so many rivals are all over these cards. Truth is, you could bring some cards that'd block them. They might have a 10 and a low jack and queen. His hand is really strong because he has a lot of chance to improve, but you actually block him. Or maybe it has 7 and 10, or 7 and 10, and jack, or 7 and 10, and queen. Or maybe it has only 2 pairs. Or maybe it has a blocker like 2 pair. It's off, 7. So I bet, and if the opponent is really He play aggressively. This is how you play against a player who doesn't like to play. Against someone who likes to call on the flop and take advantage of such low flops, you should measure the value range of your card. And the way is not to bet on this with ace and king flop, but do it at the opponent's luck. They will block you. If you bring straight or raw with that hand that has something to offer, if it works, he turned his hands and he had 6 and 7. If the opponent plays on this active, hands and he had 6 and 7. If the opponent plays on this active on flop, so always has 6 and 7. So this is the hand that I add to my range. This is from the lesson related to the flop with a good hand, and the same for pot 3 conditions.